Alô, 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 alô,
Alô,
alô,
alô, testando.
alô,
Alô,
testando.
testando.
Alô,
Alô, alô,
alô, Oh, that's good. It's the yeah, it's 1:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Is starting.
Oi.
Oi.
Olá.
Olá.
Assim, às vezes é também, mas é. É verdade,
Aí
tem
parece que
razão.
o som de voz é até mais acolhedor.
Uhum. É verdade, curtido.
Cheguei. Será que precisa desse ar ligado? Frio, não tá?
Tá friozinho aqui.
Eu fico com dó, porque quem fica falando fica quente, né? Com calor. Mas.
Eu já conectei aqui, eu só tô chamando o Eduardo pra ver se como faz pra ligar o projetor.
Ah, será que não tem ninguém aqui? Não. É aqui por dentro, eu acho.
É, tá fechado.
Mas é bom que. Eu acho que eu vou lá pegar meu notebook e já volto. Isso aqui é meu. Tá tudo desligado.
Essa câmera tá ligada, eu deixei o áudio e vídeo saindo por aqui, caso a professora
Tá.
entre. E aí eu deixei a sala de espera ativa só pra ela entrar, né?
Aham.
Pra ninguém mais.
Ah, tá bom. Ótimo. Que vai ter gente tentando conectar antes, inclusive.
É, sim.
Tá.
Só pra gente fazer o teste, aí depois eu libero pra todo mundo.
Só uma olhadinha como que fica a imagem que ela tem. Ah, tá bom. Ela vê bem, né? A gente aqui. E aí ela talvez
Então,
não consiga-
tem essas outras câmeras também. Aí quando o Eduardo chegar, só que aí eu não sei se vai, porque aqui pra ligar essas câmeras teria que ficar mudando aqui no.
Ah, trocando o vídeo.
É.
Tá.
Então talvez seja melhor. Tá vendo? Quando eu mudo, elas estão como elas são desligadas, eles somem. Então eu deixei nessa aqui, tá ligada? Só que essa aqui eu acho que é aquela que segue a pessoa, não tenho certeza. Não sei. Também precisa ver se tá ativada, sabe? Mas ela vai focando.
Não tá mexendo.
Mas eu queria ter controle remoto.
Tá. É porque se der pra, por exemplo, falar na hora que o pessoal estiver fazendo pergunta, ou alguém da plateia estiver fazendo pergunta,
Não dá pra cá, né?
e tem como gravar?
Já tá gravando.
Ah, então tá bom. Ótimo.
Eu deixei pra gravar só as plenárias.
Isso, só as plenárias mesmo.
Tá.
As 3.
Uhum.
A gente gostaria de gravar. Depois eu vou pedir permissão dos palestrantes para ver se realmente pode jogar no YouTube. Essa já deixou. Então essa já tem, mas as outras duas eu preciso perguntar. Tá bom. Ótimo.
É tudo aqui mesmo. Controles. Tá terminando de almoçar.
Entrou? Ah, ela entrou. Entrou o marido dela. Acho que ela deve estar no laptop do marido.
Hello, hi, this is Christoph.
Hi, Christoph. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Edina is
great.
joining in a second.
Okay, I can see her here. Okay, great. Here she is.
Hi.
Hi, Edina. Can you hear me well?
Yes, it's not, I just have to adjust. Is my volume okay?
Yes, it's great. We can hear
Okay.
you loud and clear.
Okay, that's great.
Good to see you. Sorry for my mistake, like a few hours ago. I was
That's
running
okay.
from one side to another, trying to solve like small issues that just appear during the morning here. So I completely forgot. I'm really sorry.
That's absolutely fine. I can totally understand. And it seems that it is working well. Shall we try sharing as well? Just to share my screen.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah, you can. It's working.
Yeah, and now it's on presentation mode.
Yes.
So would you like to go one slide further just to check if it's really?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, working perfectly.
Okay. Oh, this is great. It's smoother than I expected. I often have issues when connecting to others, but looks like Brazil is easy.
Good to know. That's the Zoom connection, but yeah, good that it's easy and all good. Yeah, we still have half an hour before we start, so
So I just turn it. Yeah. Yeah, it's good to see you close up as well.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We have like multiple cameras here. So this is one that it's like closer to the one who is sitting in here. And the other one is so you can see the whole front table. But while you're speaking, nobody will be here, in fact. Well, I'll be here just checking the computer. But I would like you to see like the audience in the auditorium, plus people on the Zoom link. So we are just waiting for the other IT employee. So he will come and turn on the other cameras. And then we can check the cameras, but you don't need to be online, so we can check from our side. So no worries about that.
Okay, and then after I speak, people have the opportunity to ask questions.
Sure. Yeah.
So there will be a microphone or something so that.
Yes, we do have some mics here. So you're hearing me with no mic. So,
okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So just a second. Sorry, what's your name again? James?
Hi, Edina.
Hi, Anis. Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi,
So
Anis.
this is how easy.
From back here.
Yeah. So that's how easy. Did you hear Yanis quite well?
Yes, I heard Yanis quite well. So that's really good. You have a really good setup then.
Yeah. So the camera here is in the middle of the auditorium of the room here. So everyone sitting here, you will be able to hear. So
that's really nice.
Yeah, I will close our audio during your speech because if people are talking to each other, that will really bother you because you can really hear like everyone.
Okay. Okay, that's nice. Okay, thank you.
You know, if you are presenting something and someone says to the other person, "Oh, did you see that slide? So nice." I mean, you will be able to hear, and that can bother, like, or make you confused during your presentation. So I'll close our audio, so you cannot hear us. But I mean, when it's the Q&A, then I will make sure it's open.
Okay. Yeah, I also actually put a bit more text, not too much, but more than I would usually do if I'm there speaking in person, because I was worried, like, if the sound is not good, people will miss what I want to say and, lose the logic or something, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think everything will be fine.
Okay, thank you for checking. And then, yeah, I let you go and check other things and then see you in some time.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Really good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I'm really sad that I cannot be there with you. It would have been nice to talk on that
I'll,
stage, but anyway,
I'm
next
pretty
time.
sure we will. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will have an opportunity to meet each other in person.
Yeah. Okay.
See you.
See you.
som. E, 2, A, E.
Tá entrando. Ei, A. Tá entrando da câmera, né? Então vamos jogar. Microfone. Ei, som. Som teste 2, ei. Som.
Cheguei.
Som teste 2, ei, A, ei. 2, teste, A.
Obrigada.
E eu famoseada. Então,
eu vou ficar no computador ou a Gabi, porque vai ter pergunta que vai vir no chat, essas coisas. Vou ficar aqui, né? Isso, você pode ficar aqui. Depois que você apresentá-la, a gente vai mudar a câmera, porque a câmera agora ela tá aqui. Depois que você finalizar, a gente vai trocar para a câmera que mostra a audiência. Ótimo. Porque é melhor ela ficar olhando para a audiência do que ficar olhando para uma mesa e só você aqui. Aí você não vai falar nada aqui, então. Acho que. Deixa eu testar as câmeras. A gente já testou as outras câmeras aqui? Preciso saber qual que é a câmera que pega essa de costas, né? Tem como pegar essa?
Não, pode pegar tudo. Porque a gente põe essa pra gente saber que tá no ângulo certo. Daqui a pouco a gente troca.
Quer mandar uma mensagem no chat? Quer que eu faça isso?
Ah, aqui no chat? Para avisar o pessoal que a gente vai começar? Talvez falar que a gente vai começar em 5 minutos.
Kavita. A Edina vai aparecer? A Edina vai aparecer?
Deixa eu ver se eu posso, na hora que você começar a falar, confirmar, Edna, você tá aí, você não lembra dele?
Legal.
Aí a palavra é que
Você me avisa.
ela abriu, então. Pega. Podemos.
Good. Is that on? Check, check. Is that on? Yes. I think it is, right? Yes. Just checking. Edina, are you already with us? Great.
Yes.
Great.
Hello.
Just checking if you're there. So, welcome everyone. My name is Patrick Elf. I'm associate professor in sustainable business at Middlesex University, London, and I'm also part of this year's SCORE 2026 organizing committee. It's really great to see so many of you here in person, and also quite a few of you joining online. It's the very first day. We're expecting quite a few more people over the next couple of days, but it's great to see familiar faces, new faces, and special thanks to those of you who made the long way to São Paulo. SCORE is a global movement, but it took us nearly 30 years to actually bring it over to Latin America. So we're really grateful to those of you who also joined us here in person. It's a really great pleasure to introduce Edina Vadovics as our very first keynote speaker at this year's SCORE Global Conference. Unfortunately, she cannot be with us in person, but we are very glad that she joins us online today. And I will do my very best to briefly introduce Edina, but it's a bit of a task because she has a rather impressive curriculum, okay? So I will try to do justice, Edina. Edina has a background in environmental management, sciences, policy and education, and is research director at Green Dependent Institute in Hungary. Green Dependent is a non-for-profit research and action organization with the mission to support and promote sustainable lifestyles while enabling multi-stakeholder discussion and collaboration. Edina's impact-driven research focuses on sustainable lifestyles, social innovation and communities. She has a very strong interest in connecting the environmental and the social aspects of sustainability across all her work, and most recently she worked on European research projects such as the 1.5 Lifestyles and Energy Citizenship project. She acted as a key expert in social innovation projects such as, and you have to help me out here probably, Edina, but URBACT, URBACT, capitalization, okay. And Transit. She has an extensive network spanning organizations from the non-for-profit sector to municipal sector and beyond that. Previously, she worked in corporate environmental and sustainability management, and she has taught related courses as a professor at different universities. Moreover, Edina worked as an external expert for the European Environment Agency and UNEP. Edina has also been involved in a diverse range of projects, multi-actor consultation and co-creation projects. Through her work, she supports households, communities and various organizations in becoming more sustainable through changing their behavior or helping them to really recognize the impacts and the behaviors that are already sustainable and to maintain them as well, despite our changing environments. Edina's publications include a wide range, and I will only name a few here. But she co-edited, for instance, books including Energy Citizenship Across Europe and Social Innovation and Sustainable Consumption, Research and Action for Societal Transformation, and contributed book chapters across different outlets. Because of the nature of her work and organization, she also writes and edits publication for more general audiences, an example of which is the recent published 1.5 Lifestyle Guide, a guide to reduce our climate impact while living a healthy and fair life, which is actually available now in 8 languages and counting. So hopefully also one there that all of us understand. And definitely, last but not least, Edina is also a member of the SCORE Europe Steering Committee. And as you can see, her extensive curriculum perhaps indicates we are incredibly grateful that she agreed to be our very first keynote, and we're really glad to have her here. So the stage is yours, Edina, and welcome once again.
Thanks. Well, thank you very much for this really nice introduction. I will try to live up to all the expectation, and I'm honored to have been asked to be a keynote speaker. And I definitely want to say that I'm really sorry I cannot be there with you. The plan definitely was to be there, but I developed some health issues that prevented me from taking a long distance flight. So I'm actually quite envious of you to be there together, have the ability to discuss and mingle in the breaks. So yeah, I'm talking to you now from tiny Hungary, more than 10,000 kilometers away. But it's really great to connect, and I welcome now to this conference from my part as well. And also to the SCORE community, those of you who haven't been introduced to our network and community yet. And to give ourselves some inspiration and also to set the tone for this speech, I want to read a quote to you, or I want to ask you to read this quote from Brazilian author, philosopher, and indigenous leader, Ayrton Krenak, who I have come across recently, but I was really happy to see his interview, and now I'm planning to read up on his work. Because in this interview recently, he said that we are treading heavily on the earth, the steps of a dinosaur. I insist on calling people to tread softly on the earth. If I can imagine a utopia, it is for humans to recover the experience of a simple life. And I hope that with this speech and also with all the different sessions and discussions taking place at this conference, we can also start planning to make this into reality from a utopia. So a bit more thinking about living small. So as I said, I was definitely going to fly to Brazil to this conference and meet you in person. But while thinking about it and thinking whether I should accept this opportunity, I also thought about, okay, but I will be talking about living small and 1.5-degree lifestyles. Can I actually be talking about this and fly at the same time? Even though it would have only been, well, I'm saying only, but is it only my 5th overseas flight in my life? So I'm taking an overseas flight on average about every 10 years. But is this actually a lot? Because at a time when 80% of the global population does not fly at all, in my own country, 40% of the people cannot even go on a week-long holiday. So is it a lot, or is it not that much? Because there are people who fly like every week, or at least every month. Could everyone actually fly as much as me? And by thinking about this, I also thought of the times when I grew up. It was still in the communist regime, so before 1990. And in those days, flying was really rare in Eastern Europe. And it was really limited. And my grandparents were lucky to fly a couple of times to communist countries, so not to Brazil or overseas, but to Russia and to Armenia. And when I remember that when they went to take the flight, the whole family went with them. So it's like it was a big occasion. We went together, we saw them off, and we welcomed them when they were returning. And after they returned home, we actually had a family event with my cousins, uncle, and aunt. And they told us the story of their flight, of their journey. They even brought many things from the flight. You know, if you flew in those days, they gave you a plastic tray with plastic custom-made dishes and cutlery. So they brought those back for us to play with. But it was a really nice gathering and storytelling event. And I wondered, were we unhappy as a result of hardly ever flying? Or was that simply the way of life? Was this simply an example of the simple life, the experience of which we should recover? And now I would like to leave this question and wondering about this with you. We will return to this later, but I would like to look back some more and tell you a bit more about my encounters with incidental sustainability, which at the time I didn't realize they were called the incidental sustainability. So in my very first research project, in which, by the way, I worked with some students from Brazil as well, we asked design students to go around their cities, their living areas, wherever, and collect innovative ways of living that they thought were innovative from the point of design. And then, as a consortium, we looked at these innovative ways of living and evaluated them from a sustainability perspective. These were examples of car sharing circles, repair cafes, agricultural networks, box schemes when, you know, the growers directly sold their products to consumers, shared housing, and these kind of things. We evaluated them from a sustainability perspective, but my job specifically in this project was to see whether these examples could be done in Eastern Europe as well. Because in Western Europe, there were a lot of these, but Eastern Europe at that point, more than 20 years ago, not so many. Definitely not car sharing and shared housing and these kind of things. But while I was evaluating these examples, whether they could be kind of imported or developed or adopted here in Eastern Europe, I also realized that we actually had a lot of examples of our own for various reasons, but we were used to consuming local products. It was quite regular for people to sell their extra produce to their neighbors in front of their homes, by the road, in local markets. We also had we didn't have repair cafes, but we did have a culture of reuse, repair and recycling because this was necessary in an economy of shortage. We didn't have car sharing networks, and if you ask people at that time, do you want to share your car as part of a network, they would have said no, but actually they had quite a lot of experience of sharing their cars because cars were so few, especially before 1990, that you shared at least with your extended family, but often with your neighbors and friends as well. So there were mixed motivations. In Eastern Europe, very often not sustainability related ones, but because these were the ways we have always done things. We had to survive in a shortage economy. We wanted to be self-sufficient so that the government couldn't play around with us. We had our own way of growing our food. So if there was a food shortage, we could survive. So we basically wanted to satisfy needs that neither the state nor the market, whatever market there was at that time, could satisfy. And we just wanted to survive, but it turned out that a lot of these examples were actually sustainable and were being redeveloped or redesigned in Western Europe, in richer countries. Then my next encounter was when my organization, my non-profit organization, managed to get some funding to go around the country and do workshops with people, everyday people, about climate change and what they could all do to reduce their carbon footprint and to do something about climate change. And at the beginning, at these workshops, people were, sitting around gloomily, looking down at their laps and wondering why we are there, wanting to tell them to change their lifestyles, to do something about climate change, which they didn't understand anything about. But then we asked them to collect examples of how they already save energy and resources in their homes. And suddenly they were motivated, they looked up, and they began to see the point of this workshop. And from being embarrassed, they became proud of all the things that they have been doing, because they realized that what they were doing out of poverty, out of habit, out of wanting to save resources and eventually to save money again, was something that could be green and sustainable, and was something that they could be proud of, and others should be doing them as well. To help reduce the carbon footprint and ecological footprint of society at large. So again, examples of incidental sustainability. They weren't doing this for sustainability reasons, but we can definitely label them sustainable. And this discussion continued at various degrowth conferences, specifically at the degrowth conference in Hungary in 2016, where we had a SCORAI session as well, focusing on these issues, on identifying unusual suspects living sustainable lifestyles. So not just wealthy environmentalists, that a lot of people think that and believe that you have to have money to be able to lead a green life or sustainable life. But at this conference, we started becoming even more aware of these examples and wanting to get rid of the concept of people being too poor to consume sustainably. A lot of practices, like the one shown in the picture, is sustainable, but people are not doing it for sustainability reasons. And in the degrowth community, they started calling these examples accidental degrowth or quiet and everyday degrowth, unplanned or unintentional examples of sustainability. And this is my last encounter, is this 1.5 degree lifestyle project that was mentioned in the introduction, where we wanted to learn about systemic and individual conditions for 1.5 degree lifestyles and societies. And in this really big project, we also did a citizen thinking lab, when we wanted to discuss with citizens what they thought about low carbon and 1.5 degree lifestyle options. And for this, we selected participants to mirror the composition of Hungarian society. And we actually measured and quantified the carbon footprint of participants who came from every walk of life, and we made a special effort that not to recruit, so to say, green people. And to our surprise, 3 of the participants already had 1.5 degree lifestyle footprints, which we didn't tell them before the workshop, but as they participated in the workshop, they slowly realized this. And they were really surprised that they are already there, and became proud that they are doing something, and something that they could be proud of, but also which is actually good for society at large, because they help reduce the carbon footprint of society in general. And they, without ever hearing about carbon quotas, they came up with the suggestion of carbon quotas so that we could reward and identify people who already live like that. And also they thought, okay, I actually can reduce my carbon footprint further. So could I share this extra footprint with others who haven't managed to reduce that much? So when we wrote about these people, we came up with the term incidental 1.5 degree lifestyle. So again, not planned and unintentional, but incidentally occurring and there. So how could we define these small and incidentally 1.5 degree lifestyles? First, in the spirit of the conference, I would like to look back a bit because you might have worked out that I included small and beautiful in the title of this speech because I'm very much inspired by E.F. Schumacher, who wrote this book, more than 50 years ago, Small is Beautiful. And in this book, he doesn't really talk about lifestyles, but more about systemic conditions. Yet we can identify some kind of definition of small lifestyles. And if you look at the highlighted part, he says that we have to come up with the possibility of evolving a new lifestyle with new methods of production and new patterns of consumption, a lifestyle designed for permanence. So for Schumacher, these kind of lifestyles could go on in infinity. And the way we defined it, first we looked at, okay, we have sustainable lifestyles, we have low carbon lifestyles. Why do we also need 1.5 degree lifestyles? Why can't we just go on using the term low carbon lifestyles or sustainable lifestyles? Well, sustainable is the broadest term, and it means a lot more than just low carbon. Low carbon focuses on climate-related impacts, but sustainable also means biodiversity friendly and low waste, water saving, whatever, everything that sustainability includes. Low carbon specifically focuses on climate change related impacts and entails a general reduction principle. We have to reduce our impact, but the way it is differentiated from 1.5 degree lifestyles is there is no limit set. When you talk about low carbon, you don't necessarily know where you are reducing to, but with 1.5 degree lifestyles, we have a very clear reduction target, which is 2.5 ton CO2 equivalent per person per year until 2030 and 0.7 tons until 2050. But another thing that distinguishes 1.5 degree lifestyles from low carbon lifestyles is that while we are aiming for this reduction, we also want to ensure that everyone can satisfy their basic needs and everyone can have at least this footprint and their basic needs will be met. Well, if we look at climate change specifically, the basic need to be met is affordable and clean energy for heating, for cooling, for lighting, and sufficient living space, for example, but also sufficient access to mobility services and also an access to participation, democratic participation in the energy system. So it's not just about material needs, but needs related to participation, learning, and these issues as well. So 1.5 degree lifestyles are very clearly defined. And okay, how does incidental come into this picture? Here I want to show you this graph from UNEP that shows the really unequal distribution of the carbon footprint. And in this graph, you can see we can find the bottom 50%. It's a lot of people, half of humanity. And what about these people? Some of them are definitely underprivileged and their needs are not met and they live in energy poverty. But our research identifying, for example, these 3 people in the Hungarian workshop shows that some of them are actually leading incidentally 1.5 degree lifestyles in an unplanned, unintentional way for all kinds of reasons. So we should be able to identify them and learn a bit more about them. And a few more thoughts about these people is that it made us think whether our definition of poverty is actually correct. Of course, basic needs need to be met, and we have to be careful not to glamorize poverty because there is a very thin and sensitive line, but at the same time, the kind of things that are associated 1.5 degree and low carbon lifestyles, like small per capita living space or having no car, or eating little meat and not flying that much. Do we associate them with poverty? Does mainstream society associate them with poverty? Do we actually need to redefine our concept of poverty for the purposes of surviving on this planet and leading small and 1.5 degree lifestyles? And at this point, yeah, you may rightly pose the question, why am I talking about the small and not the big? And yeah, I don't want to leave out the big because it's very important to control the big, to build in limits for the big and large carbon footprint lifestyles. But in order to have a paradigm shift, this is not enough, because we also have to get rid of the big as something attractive, something to achieve, something that, well, maybe a lot of incidentally now 1.5 degree lifestyle people would actually want to achieve if they had more money. So we also, while we are controlling the big, we also have to study and understand the small and talk to these people about their level of life satisfaction. Are they happy? Do they actually miss flying, or they miss having cars and large homes and these kind of things? And how happy are they? How their life satisfaction is? So it's very important to discuss and discover more about the small. And for this effort, I want to show, this is a really tiny sample, these 3 people, just setting research directions, but I want to show you some data, concrete data, quantified data from their lifestyles. So you can see, I also shared some general socioeconomic data, like their income status. You can see that these 3 people come from quite different income brackets. And also they live in very different places. It's a coincidence, but one of them is from a large city, another is from a rural area, and the third one is from a small town in Hungary. But their per capita living space data is very similar, and it's below the sustainability, below what is now considered sufficient or sustainable. And if you look at their car ownership data, 2 of them don't have a car in their household. One of them has a car but doesn't use it for commuting and use it for leisure-related travel quite little. And none of them fly. At the same time, if you look at their meat consumption, only 1 of them is a vegetarian, none of them are vegans. And the others eat some meat, not that much, but they eat some meat. Well, to ensure that they are not poor, we also checked their data and compared them to decent living standards and Hungarian averages. And I can say that they are at these standards or above these standards. So they are not living in poverty, although we didn't have the opportunity to ask them about their life satisfaction. I would like to highlight, though, that one of them, a lady, came to the workshop with presents, tea, herb tea dried by herself for everyone in the workshop. This was, of course, not a requirement for participation. She just thought that she would like to be nice to workshop participants. So, yeah, that was the only person in the group who did that. And also, to take this a bit further, I want to show you their energy-related data. You might have noticed that I didn't put it on the last slide, and it is because here they actually have quite a good potential to reduce their carbon footprint further. 2 of them use fossil fuels still for heating. They are all on the ordinary grid in Hungary, which means they don't use any renewable energy. And none of them have insulation on their home or pay attention to their electricity or energy consumption. So there is still a lot of potential to decrease the footprint and at the same time increase their quality of life, because these measures, these changes that they could do related to energy could actually contribute to an increased quality of life, or at least say getting some resources for leisure activities. And what is interesting about the lifestyle of these three people, is that it largely coincides with what research identifies as necessary for a more equitable life on the planet within planetary boundaries, like energy systems completely decarbonized, increased public transport, decreased private car use, all decarbonized, and almost entirely plant-based diet and minimized consumption. These are by and large the kind of lifestyle options that everyone should follow. Of course, it cannot be the same everywhere all over the planet, and as we have different climates, different local conditions, but in general. And these three people live largely like that. So incidentally, 1.5 degree, but conforming to the principles. And here I would like to get back a little bit to justice and converging our carbon footprints to a sustainable 1.5 degree level. Here I'm not showing you the UNEP graph, but a similar graph from Oxfam. And I mentioned that 1.5 degree lifestyles, if we are to achieve them, we have to give everyone a chance to have these lifestyles to meet their basic needs. And actually, in our 1.5 degree lifestyle project, we also confirmed that justice and equity are important conditions of acceptance of 1.5 degree lifestyle options. So there are a lot of options, for example, sharing tools or sharing cars or sharing living space, that people, especially, for example, Hungary, are not yet ready to accept. However, they told us that if they would be open to accepting them if everyone accepted them, or if they could see that they were justly implemented across society. So it wasn't just those who are green or who are ready or who are voluntarily doing it that do it, but they were principles to be followed by all society. Same with, for example, taxing flights or making fossil fuel-based transport more expensive and things like that. So justice and equity are important conditions of acceptance. Also, there is research to show that if we live in a more inequitable world, then we'll need more energy to sustain decent living standards. So it makes sense from this point of view as well to lead more equitable and just lifestyles. And there is, you may want to check out, it's a very recently published report, the Global Justice Project, which sets out conditions for an equitable and habitable world. They say it's possible, but justice and participation are the most important criteria for achieving it. And yeah, at this point, you might be saying that it's all very nice. There are a lot of people leading incidentally sustainable lifestyles. Yes, it would be nice to study them more and make them more attractive, but it's very easy to lose hope. I'm not trying to pretend that we live in a very easy world where sustainability principles can be put into practice easily. We have very undemocratic leaders and system, lots of wars, even in places where we wouldn't expect them to be, like on the edges of Europe. We have a lot of ultra-rich people with a lot of power, and at the same time, well, let's admit it, people like comfort, and it's really difficult to convince them to change their lifestyles, those who have big footprints. And very often small footprint lifestyles are associated with powerlessness and not being able to influence the system. And yes, we still haven't managed to overcome the sanctity of limitless economic growth. Again, Schumacher called our attention to it. And if we stick to it, that we don't need economic growth, we are likely to be thought of as either saboteurs or fools, which some of us are for sure labeled as such in this room. Still, is there hope, and how can we overcome it? And here I would like to bring in an example from the recent elections in Hungary. at the time of accepting this invitation to give this speech to you, I didn't think this would be possible for me to talk about this, but yeah, well, miracle happened, or maybe not miracle. Why could we change the very autocratic system that didn't really allow for democratic participation at all, except for voting? But the leading party, from before, they thought that they had this under control as well. Well, the new candidate, who is now the prime minister, did several tours of the country and talked to people directly. You can see him in the picture. He's there walking with people, talking with them, accepting their food and drink. So this played a really good, really important part of the change. But also, this party created volunteer groups all over the country. And these volunteer groups didn't just engage in political activities, so they didn't just want to convince people, they also set up charity groups, collected donations and distributed them, and they were generally trying to listen to what was needed locally. And then some of the other opposition parties decided to withdraw from the elections. A lot of us weren't happy about this because as a result, we didn't have a Green party, we didn't have a Liberal party or Democratic party to vote for, but these parties thought that this was the price of change. And then, independently of any parties, there was a large, clear volunteer mobilization to monitor the elections, to have volunteers in each and every voting station. For example, my husband also participated in this, and a lot of people I know. And then, again, independently, even more independently from political parties, there was an NGO that decided that what was needed in Hungary was radical transparency. So they created a documentary about voter intimidation and buying of votes. This you can watch with English subtitles as well. And as a result of this, there was again a lot of people who decided that, okay, on the day of the election, we will get into cars. It's very often from cities to the countryside where voters are more susceptible to intimidation. They went to the country, the poorest villages, and they simply were there, walking around, talking to people, playing with kids. Here you can see my ecological economics researcher colleague with some Roma kids in the country. So this helped a lot to reduce vote buying and intimidation. And there was also quite a large-scale mobilization of young voters. Independently, again, from political parties, a large concert was organized with more than 50 performers to cover all kinds of musical taste. And this was done 2 days prior to the election and attracted a really huge crowd. And finally, us voters were ready to give up our principles, partly at least, for change. So now we only have parties on the right in the parliament because the winning party is centre-right, but they realize, they are aware that they have a very diverse voter base. So you can see that a lot of things happened from the top down, from the bottom up, and through this kind of mobilization and all kinds of action, we managed to change the political system in Hungary. Okay, there is still a lot of work to be done, but the change could actually start. And I'm wondering whether, we can do the same related to sustainable lifestyles and sustainable consumption, whether we can learn more from this example and from other countries as well, because this kind of change is happening in other countries as well. And I have to say that now I'm going to be a bit of a rebel because I was asked to close with policy recommendations, but I'm going to close with researcher recommendations because this is something we can all do, we can all discuss and ponder about during the conference and afterwards. And yes, one of the important things we have to do is, I think we need to recognize the unintentionally sustainable. We have to find it, study it, and also quantify it. Quantification is often not done with a lot of sustainability examples, sustainable lifestyle examples. We kind of have a feeling that it's sustainable, but we need to quantify it to know whether it is really sustainable, because the 1.5 degree limit is low. We have to say that it's low, so quantification is important. And we also need to help these examples to be recognized as attractive, valuable, something to set as a life goal, or at least strive for. Then 1.5 degree lifestyles is a very unique or interesting research topic, because we researchers are actually part of it. So we shouldn't just be observing, because we ourselves have to follow these lifestyles as well. So we might need to take a different research approach, and we always also have to think ourselves as citizens, not just as researchers, and ask ourselves, do we actually believe that it is possible, or is it just a nice research topic, which is now kind of interesting and publishable and all that? Could we actually live in a small home? I have to confess that our home is rather small. We have about 30-35 square meters per person, but during COVID, it didn't. Usually it feels sufficient, and we have no problem because we have a garden as well, and so it's okay. But during the COVID times, it felt a bit small. So we have to ask these questions ourselves as well, and also test how we could accept these 1.5 degree lifestyles options, and take these to people, to our research subjects as well. Also ask ourselves, could we earn less and share more? In this global justice report that sets out a roadmap for an equitable and within limits planet, there is also a target salary value. So you might want to check whether you can live at that level or not. So this is important, is I think a new kind of research role. And finally, since we are on the edges of the biggest crisis that has ever faced us, we have to help people to create a new philosophy, and also imagine new lifestyles that integrate these limits. How could we live with limits? Probably closer to nature. Schumacher said that we forgot about living with limits because we thought we were above nature. In nature, we would know about limits, and they would be a natural part of our existence. So how do we do that? We definitely have to do this in conversation with people, not just to create new, but also to discuss barriers and what is stopping us from moving into this direction. There are a lot of ways to do this, a lot of things already happening, a lot of very good methodologies like thinking labs and living labs, citizen councils, the Donut Economics Action Lab that already uses these planetary boundaries and basic needs concept and works with companies, municipalities, communities, and also the consumption corridors discussion, which is similar to this. So we have to do that, and also use art. It's not like it's intentional that I included some literature, Ben Okri, and some Hundertwasser, the visual arts, and there is also Music Declares Emergency, a musical movement. We have to use arts. It's a really great help to capture the imagination of people. You could see that we could capture young people through this really large concert or musical event in Hungary to participate in the action and start caring. And here I come back to flying with the beautiful photograph and stunning photograph from Hungarian wildlife photographer Bence Máté. And I let you take a moment to look at this picture. And the reason I'm bringing it here, because Bence, who was traveling around the world taking photos and even getting a BBC Wildlife Photographer of the Year prize, at one point he realized that he doesn't actually need to travel to Africa, to fly to Africa to take beautiful photos. He could actually transform his farm in the Great Plains in Hungary, create biodiversity hotspots, restore biodiversity on his farm, and attract animals and reintroduce plants there and take photos there. So he reimagined his life as a photographer and also lifestyle as a photographer. And while getting inspiration from him and from others, I hope we can do that with our lifestyle and also our profession as researchers, practitioners, and policymakers. So good luck for us for this, and thank you for listening.
And are we asking questions?
Yes. Oh, I forgot to say that. Sorry. Yes, if you have any questions or comments, you are very welcome to ask them now. And also, as far as I know, if you speak, I will be able to hear you. And also, Kavita and I am doing a session on Wednesday to explore further about incidentally sustainable lifestyles or quiet sustainability. So we welcome all of you to that workshop. And now, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah. Well, I would like to make a comment. Halina Brown, SCORI board member. I think that our definition of poverty is very inadequate. The poverty is defined strictly in monetary terms, right? Income or purchasing power, if you account for the cost of living in a particular place. But I think there is another component, and I think it's really very important. It's security. It is much easier to live with a modest salary, with a modest lifestyle, if one has a sense of security about what will happen tomorrow. Because, right, and that if a disaster hits, major illness, loss of income, and other problems, loss of a spouse who is earning money, and so on. If people know that they will be okay, the drive to collect, to protect themselves from disaster is much stronger. So I think that the whole definition, and I mean like a global definition of poverty, really needs to be reopened and discuss what it really means in reality. I speak, of course, from the United States, where we have people live in very insecure circumstances. A lot of families with relatively decent income may be 1 or 2 paychecks away from homelessness. How do you define poverty or middle class in a situation like that? So I think security needs to be taken into account. And it's much easier to live on a small footprint if you have a sense of security. So that's my comment.
Yeah, thank you, Halina. I very much agree with this, and also maybe related to security, trust in society, trust in your government. And I'm not sure if there are any more comments or questions.
Let's check here in the audience. Does anyone have any questions? Just to know that I will bring the mic.
Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned quality of life and the reimagining of reading between the lines, but of a good life. I'm curious, how do you see us exploring the well-being implications or quality of life implications of living smaller? How would you go about an exploration like that?
Okay, thank you for this question. It's an important question. We tried to do a bit of that in this project that I mentioned, 1.5 degree life size. And in the audience, I have one of my colleagues from this project from Latvia. So if you want to ask him in person as well, or if I don't answer enough or whatever, you would like to hear the Latvian perspective, you can talk to him as well. But what we did is we invited people to a workshop, and where we presented, some of these people have already took part in our first workshop. Excuse me? Or maybe this wasn't a question to me. Okay, so we actually had a workshop working with people where we outlined what 1.5 degree lifestyles would look like concerning housing, eating, mobility, leisure. And first, we explored with them what kind of barriers and worries they see. And some of these were related to quality of life. Some others were related to other aspects, but for example, related to housing, they brought up, okay, I'm not sure I want to live in a small house. Because then what do I do? Will I have enough space? What if I want to have guests over? And what if I have people from abroad and want to give them a room? And other considerations like, okay, we said that you don't necessarily have to have a small house. You can have your own small space, but then also have some shared space. Then they brought up, okay, but I don't really want to share with people because who will do the cleaning? What if it's not up to my standards? So these kind of things. And as a second step, we asked them to, okay, we have to live smaller because there are limits on the planet. You raise these issues that you are worried about. How do you think you could still accept them? What kind of conditions would there be on your acceptance of these different living conditions? And I have to admit that I myself was surprised as well. They managed to come up with a lot of ideas. For example, for sharing, they said, okay, actually, if we had smaller individual and personal living space, and some of it was shared, like, for example, guest rooms could be shared, or some of the living space could be shared. We would be okay with this if there were concrete rules and there were concrete principles of managing them. And actually, in return, we could maybe have more quality of life features like a sauna. We couldn't have a sauna or a swimming pool on our own because that would be beyond limits. But if we live in a shared housing space, we could actually have more well-being features on our homes, because if we share them, we can afford them and we will still be within limits. So, and they managed to do the same for everything. Even giving up meat is a big issue in Hungary, and I imagine it's the same in Brazil, or eating less meat. And they said, okay, we don't want to give up meat. It's traditional, we like meat. It's good to have a bit of meat, we really like it. But if we reduce the meat consumption gradually, then okay, we think we could do that. We could eat less meat, and we could come up with different recipes where meat is not the main ingredient but used as a flavoring thing, so we could still have meat. And this came from the people. Also some people added that because we had people in these workshops as well who already had meat-free or whatever lifestyles, not necessarily for environmental reasons. And some of them said that they actually reduced their meat intake because of health reasons, because their doctor suggested or nutritionist suggested. So that's another thing that people brought up, that if it's healthier, okay, I'm happy to experiment and try them out. So this way, we are actually increasing quality of life in both related to housing and eating meat. And people show that, okay, I don't have to change completely, so I'm willing to change a bit. And related to reducing living space, they also said that if they could see that it's for justice reasons. For example, at one point we had a lot of migrants in our country, and a lot of people were happy to invite them to their place. And this way, they actually ended up with smaller living space, sometimes for months. And they said, after having this experience, they said in the workshop that, okay, if I can see that other people need this space, or other people who don't have a car but would need a car, they can use my car if they need it, if I can see they are in need, and this way I'm happy to share what I have. And that again was something unexpected. I personally didn't expect this to come out at the workshop. So I think talking to people is a solution for this, and having these workshops, it's time consuming, it's resource consuming, just human resources as well. But I think that's a really important part of it, to talk to them and see how they themselves can come up with ways of overcoming these barriers.
Hi, Edina. Thanks a lot for your presentation. I think my question follows up a bit on Sarah's question. I really liked that you said that we have to quantify incidental sustainability or sustainable consumption or quiet sustainable consumption to kind of know its contribution towards, for example, goals like 1.5 degree lifestyles. So my question is like, what happens with quiet sustainability if it's loud? And what would be, for example, your communication recommendations if we find out, okay, quiet sustainability has this and this contribution to the 1.5 degree lifestyles? What would be your recommendations on how to communicate the implications of this for policymakers, for consumers, and for businesses, for example?
So you mean if we find out that it's not within limits, or in general?
In general, for example, what happens? Like if we find out, okay, quiet and incidental sustainability is actually contributing to an emission reduction of this and this much. How do you move on with this like finding, for example? How do you make quiet sustainability loud, and if you even want that?
Okay, yeah, again, a very good question. And I think we probably have to brainstorm in a different context. But what we have been successful with is we always organize an event at the end of these projects or whatever campaigns, where we invite policymakers and decision makers too. And very often they are happy to come, even from companies, but also from various departments of ministries. And there, it's not us researchers presenting these examples, but we usually present the quantification and research methods and whatever, but we ask people themselves to present. And it's very good for decision makers to see the people who are actually practicing their lifestyles to present and be proud. This is good for the people because they become proud, but it's good for the decision makers as well, because then they can see the voter base is actually ready to change. It's not just the researchers telling them to change, but it's the voter base as well. And also to these events, it's very important to invite representatives of the media as well, because these are usually interesting. And again, it's more interesting if it's very practical, very related to life. So that's why, again, it's very good to ask the people themselves to present. And of course, these days, media is not always ready to come to events. So press releases and press events and also meetings with the press are really important. And what also worked best is that we organize mixed stakeholder workshops. So when we invite policymakers, business representatives, media, researchers, and also NGO representatives, and we sit them down at the same table and ask them to look at these examples or look at 1.5 degree lifestyle principles and discuss what are the barriers and opportunities from their perspective. And then as a result, if you manage to invite the media, you always get articles, and if it gets out into the media, it starts to become a trend. Other media gets interested as well, and these lifestyles become attractive examples to be followed, and a solution get presented as solutions for a 1.5 degree society. So as you can see, very different ways of doing it. And of course, there is a lot of lobbying to be done as well. As researchers, we also get involved in developing new laws. For example, in Hungary at the moment, we are rewriting the climate law, the climate change law, and we are taking part of it, several other research groups as well, and NGOs as well. And this is a lot of work, usually volunteer work, but we have to put in the effort at this point. So yeah, I'm sure other people from the audience could mention different ways that have worked with them. But definitely plan with a big communication and dissemination budget in these kind of research projects, because it's necessary.
I'm Maria Varua from Australia, Western Sydney, Australia. I was just interested in the metrics that you have presented, and I think the 1.5 lifestyle metrics could change on based on the country. As for example, Australian culture is as a rite of passage. Kids would normally travel, and we live in long distances, so we normally would travel. So the definition of 1.5 lifestyle could be different depending on the culture. So, for example, the university I'm in, we have 164 different cultures in the university. So, it may change in the country as well.
Yes.
So how can that work in the world? So would it have a different definition depending on where you are and the?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I only made a very quick note about it. This in my presentation. I didn't have enough time, so it's good you have asked. Well, the general definition would not change, like the carbon limit and also the basic social limits, like the minimum values that we would have to reach, and also the carbon footprint we would have to reduce our emissions to. These are universal, but the way the local or the 1.5 degree lifestyle options, the way we do them, they can differ and should differ across cultures. Well, generally, decarbonization of energy cannot be changed, and also decarbonization of transport, but the way it's done it will be done differently across cultures. So that's why we started come up with these 1.5 degree guidebooks. And if you look at them online, my presentation will be shared later, and I have put in links. If you compare the countries even within Europe, like Latvia, Hungary, Germany, Sweden, and Spain, you will see differences of what we need to do. For example, in Hungary, we have to change our heating methods and change our mobility methods more than in some other countries like Sweden. They probably have to focus more on their leisure activities. They are richer, they have more extra income to fly, and so flying for them will be more of an issue. So yes, you have to take the general values, the general definition, you have to take it to your country and actually to your city and community and see how it can be done there, because the lifestyle options and the order in which the importance of them or the impact of them will be different. In our upcoming book chapter, we actually, which is already available. Again, I have put that link in my presentation. You will see some examples. Actually, there is one example for Sao Paulo done as well from a research and practitioner group. There is one for India. I don't know about any from Australia, so you could join this research community. But basically, you are right. The lifestyle options will be different and their priority will be different, but the general description and values would not change. We cannot change those. So in Australia, yes, it will be difficult. You will have other challenges in Australia than we have in Hungary, I guess.
Good point.
Yes, hello. Jukka Heinonen from the University of Iceland. Related to the previous question, I would like to know what do you think about like the historic responsibility aspect of this like universality? Because if we say that everybody has the same target, then we sort of say that everybody is equally responsible for the current situation. And if we would start calculating from some year in the past what is everybody's quota, so what is left, then of course we know that in the rich countries we basically would not have any quota left, and our target right now should be 0 or negative or something like that, and then that would differentiate the targets for different countries quite a lot. What do you think about this aspect?
Yes, again, a very important question about historical responsibility. And we could debate about these targets changing, but we can only change them if somewhere we reduce them. We set a bigger carbon footprint as a target, then others will have to have a lower carbon footprint. And yes, this should definitely be the topic of discussion in international meetings. But maybe this difference should be seen as who should be providing the resources for this change, because obviously some resources are needed and some investment is needed. The technology basically we have. What we don't have is a willingness to do them for all kinds of reasons. And yes, because we'll need all these discussions and also the implementation of the technology, we'll need funding to cover that. And I think that's where historical responsibility could play the most important part, that those who are more responsible could be asked to pay more. But I feel like, this is my personal opinion, but I would definitely like to discuss this further. How to deal with historical responsibility is a really key question. At the same time, it should not exempt us now from responsibility. And I'm saying this as a Hungarian, where the carbon footprint is relatively small, and also the historical responsibility is relatively small. But even from this perspective, I don't want to say, and I'm not saying that we are less responsible. We should also play our part. This is, I know it's not a perfect answer to your question, but maybe something to consider in the upcoming discussions.
Thank you very much. I'm Kate from Switzerland. I was wondering, you mentioned Citizens Thinking Lab. Have you also thought about conducting citizens assembly? Deliberative processes are recommended to have a group of citizens that come up and think about potential solutions to complex policy problems.
Yes, absolutely. We didn't do citizen assemblies in this particular project, but yes, I see citizen assemblies as a really good way to think about these issues and include, for example, in city and municipal planning processes and also national planning processes. There are more and more of them around countries and the world. So yes, we should I completely agree. They should be part of this, and these are processes that we should take advantage of. Yes.
Thank you very much, Edina. My name is Auntie, and I am from Mount Royal University, Canada. Your talk really resonated with me, having grown up in Vietnam, where, like silent sustainability is often practiced as the way of life, without being named explicitly or without receiving any official support from the government. And now I live in Canada, where sustainability is a hot topic in public discourse and policy. So I can see the differences, between, the population in these two countries, how they practice sustainability. So my question is, when you mentioned about the role of us, as researchers, so what advice do you have for us researching in sustainable consumption? What role do you think we can play to magnify silent sustainability to make it more impactful and meaningful? Thank you.
I didn't hear the first part of your comment because the internet froze, but I think before you talked about Canada, but I think I understand, unless there was some key information there, I think I understand what you want to ask. Well, I think we should publish, once we identify these examples and confirm that they are indeed 1.5, conforming to 1.5 degree lifestyle principles, then we should do our best to communicate to the media, to policymakers, to businesses, work with businesses to develop methods to support these examples, and publish some papers as well. But I guess academic publication, I would say in this case, is not the most important priority. I know it's a challenging researcher roles and a lot of researcher reward and expectation schemes, but yes, publish some there, but publish more publicly that everyone can reach. This, I think, is very important. Another very important thing is to help these people who are practicing these incidental sustainability examples realize that these are things not to be ashamed of, not to be thought of as poverty or something to cover up and not tell others about, but things as are valuable to society at large, something to be proud of, something to tell others about, and you as a researcher can invite them also to speak about them, and it's really empowering for them to see this. And then suddenly after you invite them, they will do a lot of their work, because they will do social media posts, they will talk about it to their friends, so it will spread. But it's important for them to see that these are good examples and things to be proud of. And they will also, take pictures of themselves and, post and spread around media. So that's, I think these are the things we can do as researchers, and also to participate in these public processes that our colleague from Switzerland mentioned, these citizen councils and citizen deliberation processes, even as researchers, because we have a role as citizens as well. So let's go and participate if there is an invitation. Or start a process like that in our own towns. I know that Philip and Halina are doing this in their municipalities. I am trying to do it in my municipality as well, and I have to admit it's not very easy to initiate.
No,
it's
not
really
easy.
not. So these are different skills. So as researchers, we also have to develop new skills. Because, we are good researchers, we know how to do research, how to write academic publications, but even to write social media posts is a different art. It's a different skill set. And to go and participate in these municipal meetings and to speak up and use the language that they understand and the vocabulary that they understand. And, you know, I can't really say 1.5 degree life size because, I mean, who understands that? Now, yes, because we have posted a lot about it in social media, so people started recognizing it. But yeah, it's a lot of work and it's a different skill set. So we definitely have to learn and improve our skill set.
Yeah. Can I add to it? I think I would like to support very strongly what you just said, Edina. I think that we, the researchers, have a responsibility to become also activists. And I really see far too much of the separation between researchers and activists. And that is a real flaw in the whole movement toward more sustainable society and more sustainable lifestyles in a society. I learned that I have to say that I'm a retired professor, and while I was working actively, I was not an activist. There seemed to be just too much work and too many priorities and so on. But when I retired, and that was already about 7-8 years ago, I got deeply involved in climate activism in my municipality. And very quickly, I had this naive notion that I will bring all my knowledge to the community and everything will work. And of course, very quickly learn, number one, I had to learn politics. Number two, I had to get at the level of individual interactions with a lot of people. And that's what activism is, and build trust in what I am saying is really something worth listening to. And what I'm doing, it's worth joining. So I know that especially the early career researchers have a lot of responsibilities, and it's getting harder and harder. People are pulled in every possible direction. But we need to find some way of crossing that wall, that boundary between action and research. So thank you, Edina, for bringing, because Edina is an embodiment. We've known each other for many years, and she's an embodiment of exactly doing that. And that's what's so admirable, if you allow me to say that. Yeah.
Thank you, Halina. It
Yeah.
hasn't been easy. I mean, I had to learn to communicate. I didn't even want to join social media at the beginning. I thought, no, that's definitely not for me. But now I learned that it's important to sometimes post even about my own lifestyle and how I'm doing it, because people, it's very influential actually. It influences a lot of people. So encourage you to experiment with this. It's not easy. But we can help each other.
Hi, Edina. This is Patrick again, Patrick L. from Middlesex University. You alluded to the role of companies earlier, but I thought I ask again and ask you to reflect a bit more on the role of companies, because don't always count businesses, and actually, in fact, they sometimes silently bin a lot of their sustainability ambitions, you know, especially over the last couple of years. So I wondered if you have any sort of reflections on their role in enabling or unlocking a 1.5 or nowadays 2.0 lifestyle, whatever it is we're talking about.
Yeah. Yes, actually, your last the last part of your comment, 1.5 degree lifestyles or 2.0 lifestyles. Actually, maybe the name is not so good, because 1.5 degree lifestyles are necessary even if we are progressing to 2. Even the 1.5 degree goal is no longer seen as achievable. The lifestyles themselves are still needed. Anyway, the role of companies. they have a really important role because they have to develop the services and products that we need for 1.5 degree lifestyles, and they need to see that it's their role, and they have to reimagine their activities, maybe even more than us researchers. And what I can say that luckily they are realizing it. So for example, in Hungary, we are working with the Business Council for Sustainable Development. It's a world organization, but it has chapters in every country. There is one in Hungary, and they work with the largest companies in Hungary. And I have to say that they are interested. We have been invited to do 1.5 degree lifestyle workshops with them, especially with companies working in the energy and tourism sector. And we use various tools. We ask them to, we have something called the climate puzzle, and we play it with them so that they can see how lifestyles need to change. And then after this, we think together with them like, okay, how does your company contribute to this lifestyle change? What could your company produce or offer as a service so that people could actually follow 1.5 degree lifestyles? And it seems to be working. It's slow, so with businesses, we would need to step up our efforts. But this is one way of working with them to find associations and business organizations that work with many companies and try to approach them this way. Also, I can say that in tourism, there is quite a lot of interest because flying is often in the spotlight, and they realize that they will have to come up with different tourism suggestions. Now we have a small tourism company that actually developed 1.5 degree lifestyle travel packages, so there is interest there as well. But it's not always to help them see that they can survive because we are in some ways rethinking growth as well. So yes, there is a big role offering services and products, and there are ways of working with them. But yes, there is still a long way to go. I'm not sure I have managed to answer your question.
Great. Okay, the conversation is really good, but we're going to the last question now, Edina. So,
thank you. Hi, Edina. My name is Julia. I'm from São Paulo State University. While you were presenting, I was thinking nationally, what are the trends when we were talking about sustainability, especially with so Generation Z and social media. And secondhand buying clothing is actually a trend, and it's usually being branded as something cool and even sometimes as luxury. So do you think that this could be the key, you know, branding low carbon emission consuming as luxury, as something cool, glamorous?
Yes, I think it should be part of it. It should be branded as cool and glamorous and the thing to do. And we definitely have to involve young people in this process. We try to involve some young people already. You might have noticed some of the graphics in my presentation. These I think cooler ones were designed by a young person because we invited this design student and asked her to, okay, these are the 1.5 degree lifestyle options. How would you put them into a graphic so that it's attractive to your generation? So this is part of it as well. We, just like with any other stakeholder, we should involve them and ask them to help design it, and what would make it attractive to them, something that they would consider cool. And yes, there are trends as well. At the same time, you mentioned second-hand clothing, and it is an issue because some of the second-hand clothing is becoming so trendy that it's now it's too expensive for average people to buy. So we have to make sure to try to keep this balance, that it stays available to all, but becomes cool at the same time. And I can see it as a very sensitive balance to keep it up, to keep it this way, but definitely make it trendy. And I'm afraid social media posting helps with that as well, although with social media, we have to keep energy use in mind as well. Yeah, with everything, there is this balance between things, how much we post, but we should definitely, yeah, make it trendy, cool, the thing to do, the norm actually to be followed, and make, yeah, if you fly, it's not the trend anymore. Could you do the same journey by train? And yes, sometimes you cannot, and then you have a reason to fly, because that's the fact of life. But we fly too much. Same with cars, questioning car travel, same with questioning other things. And people, if we ask them, that's the other thing beyond making it cool, they can come up with ways of reimagining it and still feeling they are cool.
Thanks, Edina. Well, thank you so much for the opening keynote. And I think both your speech and were quite insightful for opening this Square Global Conference. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me as well. It has been really nice to be part of this.
Okay. So, okay, thank you, everyone. We will go to the welcome presentation, and then we'll go to the reception, okay? So, hold on a little bit more. Ok. Eu só vou compartilhar a tela, que eu acho que já está aberto aqui. Aqui. Okay. Great. Deixa eu só ver se... Acho que não está funcionando. Você clica na tela, por favor. Aí. Obrigada. Não está funcionando esse aqui. Será que saiu? Ou... Não está passando? Talvez tenha saído aqui. Acho que ele... Tá, obrigada. Estranho. Engraçado que estava. Fui eu que passei ou foi você? Não, foi eu. Okay, so let's go for, I promise I just have a few slides, just for you to have a look on the conference, the program, and some surprises as well in the middle of the way. So welcome, bem-vindos, to the Scorai Global Conference 2026 in Brazil. I hope you all enjoyed your flights, buses, or just a car coming to the University of São Paulo. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some thank notes to our sponsors, CAPES, CNPq, FIA Business School, FEA-USP, which is the business school that we are in now, the Fundo Patrimonial FEA-USP, and also the PhD and Master Program in Business at the School of Business and Economics at the University of São Paulo. And also thanks to our partners, the Universidade Passo Fundo, Universidade Brasília, and also to AMPAD, which is the Association for Postgraduate Programs in the country, in Brazil. Okay. I also would like to have a big thanks for the organizing committee. So I will ask for the organizers to stand up so everyone can know who you are. Caroline, Gabriela, Solange. Can stand up, Patrick, and also Elena. Janine is not here. Jansen, please. So people get to know you. Laura, Sophia, Leticia. Where is Leticia? Oh, Leticia, I think she left the room. Renata and Sophia are there. So thank you very much, guys. So I also would like to thank our our track leaders. So Danilo Sampaio is the track leader from Policy, Governance and Choice Architecture. Oh, here. Thank you very much, Danilo. Adriana Madeira is the track leader from Education and Learning and also for Emerging Economic Paradigm. She's not here, sorry. Then Jensen, track leader for Society and Culture. Solange and Sophia, track leaders for Lifestyle Transformations. And also Janine, who was our backup track leader for Society and Culture and Lifestyle Transformations, where there are conflict of interest with the other track leaders for any reasons. Thank you as well. And a big thanks for our scientific committee. We had 59 reviewers to evaluate all the submissions that we had. So each submission had 2 reviews from our reviewers. So thanks a lot for the scientific committee as well. I hope I didn't forget about anyone in the list. So you already know about SCORAI, but just a few words about our association, the Sustainable Consumption Research and Action Initiative. So we do have SCORAI Global, which initiated in 2008 with more than 1,700 members. This is number for 2025. I guess now in 2026 it might have raised up to 1800s. And we also had the previous conferences in Clark, Maine, Copenhagen, Boston, Stockholm, and I never know how to say that. I say Wageningen, and I'm pretty sure I'm not pronouncing it the correct way, and I'm sorry for that. And now in Brazil. The SCORAI Brazil initiated in 2018. We are now 40 members, and this is our first conference in Brazil and also in the Global South. So we were also very proud of hosting this global conference. And we know that SCORAI has the other chapters, SCORAI China and SCORAI Europe. And so, yeah, we also have the local conferences as well, I think mostly for SCORAI Europe. And also the board members for SCORAI. So Liz, Alan, Sumiat, Valerie, Alina, Ashley, Jeannie, Kira, Robert, Thomas, and Philip. So these are the members of the SCORAI board. So, and I also think most of you know, and we just put it there, the projects and initiatives that they lead within the SCORAI association, the community. Okay, so I'll call now Solange. She will talk a little bit about Philip and say some words.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Hello, Laura. Nice to see you here. Well, unfortunately, Philip is not here with us right now. He had an urgent appointment. So, but let's talk a little bit about him. Right? Yeah, please. Philip is the co-founder of SCORAI, and he's obtained his PhD in chemistry from the University of Leiden in Netherlands in 1976. And then professor of technology assessment at Delft University of Technology, the Netherlands, research professor at Marsh Institute, Clark University in the USA. He has co-authored more than 100 scientific publications and 4 books with nearly 3,700 citations. Since 2008, he's a founding executive board member at SCORAI and the North American Sustainable Consumption and Action Initiative. Since 2016, he is a member of the coordinating committee, now steering committee of the CAM SSCP, the Future Earth Knowledge Action Network on Systems of Sustainable Consumption and Production. Okay, his curriculum, but let's talk a little bit about Philip now. As you saw here, his career moved from chemistry and technology assessment to sustainable technology development, and then to social, technical, and cultural transitions in consumption and well-being. Across roles in Dutch government programs, European universities, and later Clark University and the Telos Institute, his work has focused on how societies can lead technology, lifestyles, and economies toward long-term sustainability. Sorry. By developing and co-founding a global network, the SCORI, between 2008 and 2009, Philip brought a remarkable academic, environmental, and social contribution. He gave voice to diverse researchers and practitioners who, like us here, wanted to contribute to a more just and sustainable society through consistent changes in consumption patterns. There were fewer than 40 participants at the beginning event in 2009 in the United States. Who could have imagined that the seed would grow to encompass nearly 1,800 people across the globe, united in this singular, volunteer-run, interdisciplinary knowledge action network? SCORI is a great legacy of Philip in his goal to create a new intellectual community conceived as an international knowledge network of researchers and practitioners committed to building a flourishing and ecologically sound society by changing the way we consume. Besides promoting research, SCORI created an intellectual community and motivated studies for instigating policy agendas. It also contributed to the emergent understanding of how consumer society functions and maintains itself, and how it impacts the well-being. I first met Philip in June 2018 at the third International Conference of the Sustainable Consumption Research and Action Initiative, SCORI, held at the Copenhagen Business School in Denmark. Perhaps some of you have already heard this story I'm about to share, but I believe it is important to record it today. During a special session at that event, Felipe, Halina, and other SCORI leaders at the time were presenting the network and its regional chapters worldwide. I raised my hand and asked, have you ever considered establishing a chapter in Brazil? Felipe replied, yes, that would be highly interesting. Let us talk. Our conversation continued during the walkway to the conference dinner at restaurant Josti. Marvelous. I introduced myself more fully, and he expressed how warmly he would welcome such an initiative. He mentioned that a Latin American network had previously been attempted with Fabian Echegaray by organizing an event in 2014, but it had not progressed further. I suggest perhaps Latin America is too broad an area to begin with. What if we focused on Brazil first? He immediately showed great enthusiasm and granted me his full endorsement. he shared Fabian Echegaray's contact information. And from that moment onward, we began organizing the network for Brazil. This story shows who Philip is, a generous individual, eager to amplify the voices of those who step forward to work for the common good in a more sustainable world. And this is precisely how we must move forward. Even in the challenging times we currently face, we must proceed in unity as a collective and as a network to advance this movement for positive change. So thank you, Philip. Thank you all. And thank you very much.
Can I add something? May I say one word?
Yes, sure.
Philip was going to be, of course, at this conference, but because of unexpected health problems, he could not travel, just like Edina. And he did not expect this beautiful testimony. So he had another one of many medical appointments exactly right now. So he missed this beautiful event here, but I will make sure that he watches it on video. And thank you very much on his behalf. Philip is really the heart and soul of Skorai. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move forward for some information about the conference. Yep. So we had 91 submissions among sessions, abstracts, which became either oral presentations or posters from 237 authors from 24 different countries. So we are really happy with the numbers and the works that we will see in the following days during this week. So in terms of conference topics, so the differences, the numbers for each topic. So we have special sessions in all 4 conference topics and the abstracts and posters. I just left a QR code for the detailed program, but just remember that in each of your badges, you also have a QR code that leads to the conference website at the web page, exactly the page where the detailed program is as well. So you can always find it very easy in here. Before we go to the next slide, just another thing that I remembered, we created a Wi-Fi network for everyone to access. I know most of you have access to EduRun, so if you have EduRun in your home university, you can just connect here. But in case you don't have, sorry, I didn't put on my slides, but it's FairNet, the network. The login is Skorai, and the password is Skorai26. So it's very easy.
Capital letters, Skorai.
Caps letters, yeah. How capital letters, yeah. Caps.
All capital letters.
Capital letter. Okay, thank you. So capital letters for everything. Skorai, the login, and also the password Skorai26, also capital letters. Okay. Okay, so the conference program, as you already know, because it's also on the website, but we had the visits this morning, and at the same time we had the early career workshop. So thanks a lot, Laura and Patrick, for leading the workshop. And I hope those who went to Dengo, to the Escola Florestan Fernandes from MST, from the Movimento Sem Terra, the No Land Movement people, and also to Natura, I hope you enjoyed the visit and had a wonderful time learning about sustainable consumption in different types of businesses and movements, organizations. Thanks a lot, Sophia, for organizing all those visits. Along with Patricia, I think Patricia, she left for the other, commitment that she had. Okay, so we also have the 3 keynotes. Edina was today, and then tomorrow we have another keynote, which is Karina Pimenta. Karina Pimenta is the National Secretary of Bioeconomy. She works at the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change in the federal government. And on Wednesday, we will have a panel of Origens Brasil, which is a network comprised of companies, NGOs, and associations and communities that live in conservation areas in the Amazon region, and they will talk about sustainable development based on that region. Okay. We also have the sessions that are spread in 6 different sessions, and tomorrow we have a poster presentation at 4:30, and we will have coffee and drinks as well. And then in the last day, after the last session, we will go to the restaurant Azulejo. Can you just click one more time? If you need the address, it's there. Rua Caraíbas, 871. Sorry for my brain is not very fast. And if you need the map or the website for the restaurant is over there on that QR code as well. The idea is that we can have a happy hour, just enjoy our time together. So we already made the reservations for the restaurant, but it's each person pays its own consumption. That's how it's going to work. Okay. Everyone okay with the QR code? Okay, yeah, so we good. And it's important also to say that the conference does not end this week. It has a back-to-back associated event that happens between June 12 and 14. That is the Scorai Festival in Pena in Italy. And it's bridging continents, bridging the research action gap, and also extending the reach of our scientific insights into practice. So if you want to learn more, we also have the information in our website. Also left the QR code that leads there and to the website for the festival. So if you're interested, you still have time to connect to that festival. Okay, and the Food to You program I mentioned, and also the Zoom links. So all the hybrid sessions. So in the program that you also have, yeah, thanks a lot, Elena. So if you have here all the sessions that are mentioned room plus Zoom, this means that that session is hybrid. Okay, so if you need the Zoom links for the hybrid sessions, even if you're not enrolled, and you're here, so probably you can just attend in person. But if you know about someone who would like to have the Zoom link, you can access that, or in the email that we just sent you last week. I think on Friday we sent you an email also with the Zoom links. All the Zoom links, they were only sent to those who are registered, but the Zoom links are open. So anyone can access and watch the session, make questions, participate if they wish. Thank you. Okay, just hold on. Over there. Now I would like to invite Jensen Santana for the conference best paper to present.
Thank you, Kavita. Thanks for inviting me to present the best papers. It's an honor for me to be here and to present these full of very qualitative and relevant papers. So just a few words before I announce them. We have 5 categories. So we have best paper for 4 tracks, and also 1 overall best paper of the whole conference. The jury was composed by Solange Alfinito, right? Who were here just before, from Universidade of Brasília, de Brasília. And Danilo Sampaio as well, which is from Universidade Federal de Juiz de Fora, right? Let's say in Portuguese, right? And also by me from TBS Business School in France, in Paris. So just for a matter of avoiding conflicts of interest. And just to be clear with everyone, ethically speaking, Solange and Danilo had papers that were indicated for best paper. So for those papers, they were not analyzing, not evaluating their own papers. And as I don't have any papers that have been indicated, unfortunately, for best paper, I evaluated all of them, and I am responsible for announcing them to you all. So we just one final comment before we jump into the past papers. I know we were all expecting for that, but we were very impressed by the quality and relevance of our papers regarding the context. For instance, a lot of them were in Brazilian contexts related to indigenous communities and sustainable consumption in general, of course, but also elsewhere in different parts of the world. So thank you very much for submitting your best work for us. So now, moving on for the first best paper. Per track. And then the first track is education and learning. And the best paper. And the winner is education, awareness, and dissemination on sustainable development and consumption in public secondary school. The authors are Danilo Sampaio, Luiz Martins, and José Alden. I invite you all to come here so you can, have your congratulations. Have some pictures, I guess?
Surprise.
Surprise, yeah. I don't know.
Thank you.
We have the cameras over there, so we can just.
No. Oh, I think Gabi and Carol.
Yeah, we're gonna have a
Helena,
Do I need to be in the picture?
Yes. It's a great surprise. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. So moving on to the next. Yeah.
If you want to hear about the paper.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have on the bottom right. You have the date and the hour of the session if you want to attend to see their presentation.
No pressure.
Okay, so moving on to the second one, and then this track is lifestyles transformation, and the winner is determinants of household waste sorting behavior, evidence from Combi model for sustainable consumption. Authors Letícia Serra and Solange Alfinito.
So she didn't only finish her PhD, but also get the best paper straight away.
Double congratulations. I think this merits another round of applause. Congrats.
I get a picture.
Can you? Thank you.
I'm almost ready.
Just a second. Very good.
Perfect. Third one, and then the next track is Policy, Governance, and Choice Architecture. And the winner is Electric Mobility and Energy in the Brazilian Northeast Region. Authors Marcela Tayane Chavi, Fabiane Roberta de Araújo, Deise Aparecida do Nascimento Rabelito. Parabéns.
Do you want to be in the picture?
Congratulations. Long live Northeast. And the next one is for the track Society and Culture. And the winner is Marketing Networks in Indigenous Communities, the case of women vendors and artisans from the Limão Verde village. Authors Isadora Lopes, Ellen Medina e Tainara Nunes. A gente tá os dois nervosos, então. Parabéns, viu? Tá aqui. Congrats. And now it's the final award, right? The best paper of the conference. And the winner is Marketing Networks in Indigenous Communities, the case of women vendors and artisans from the Lima. Again, thank you and congratulations.
No. Read the name.
We
want to
can't.
know how it reads.
Sorry. I can ask for my student that she is indigenous, and I can send for you after. I can pronounce. Sorry.
You want to have another picture?
Yeah.
Just to. Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll pass it on to Kavita again.
Thanks a lot, Jensen. Oh, okay, yeah. Now it's you. Not me, but you. You trust me.
So we also organized quite a few special issues as part of the conference, and I can't speak for all of them in detail, but I just want to briefly introduce you to them. Okay, so as part of the conference, we reached out to different journals just to align also with what we do here and try to bring the conversation into some of the leading journals out there. This first one is the Journal of Consumer Policy. On the left, you can see a few more insights about the journal. It's quite leading in the space, and we have a special issue there that's led by a few people that are in the room. So if you have questions about the special issue, if you want to know a little bit more about also the journal, please approach Kavita, Solange, Laura, and I. We are leading that. The only person who can't be here with us today is John Turgerson, but he already took part today, this morning, in the ERC session as well, remotely. So please, approach us. More than happy to speak a little bit more about it. Just so you know, the deadline is soon. So ideally, you have already something in place. The second, okay, I'm not part of the editorial, of the guest editorial group, and unfortunately also Veronica and Susanne can't be here today, but we have Laura here, who is part of the guest editorial team. But I'm the editor-in-chief of the journal, so if you have questions, please let me know. It's a fairly new journal. It's 3 years old. It's part of Sage US. We get a lot of support from Sage US. This year, by the end of the year, we'll also have indexing, so it's quite good for a new journal actually to get there. But it is the Journal of Tropical Futures. However, we have a broader focus. It's the Global South overall, okay? And maybe I should just mention that because I'm a white European dude, okay? So I am the editor-in-chief at the moment, together with Jacob Woods from James Cook University, but the idea is to establish it and then to hand over to somebody who's much better placed to actually lead the journal, ideally somebody from the Global South, okay? So become part of the conversation, and who knows, maybe next EIC is you. Last but not least, we also have a special issue in sustainable production and consumption. I'm one of the guest editors for the special issue, so please again reach out as well if you want to know a little bit more. I'm not only the guest editor of the special issue, I'm also a senior associate editor of a new section from SPC, which is on lifestyles, okay, sustainable lifestyles. So if you have questions about not the special issue per se, but about the journal overall, please approach me. I'm more than happy to share any sort of information about the journal. I should mention that particular special issue there, the deadline is the 30th of November, and I didn't say that, but for this one here, it is the 30th of October, I believe now, 31st of October. So just so you know, it's a bit longer, okay? Good, and I think I'm handing back to Kavita.
I think I'll hand over to Laura now. And I think everyone will have to warm up
Yeah, thank you for letting me do the fun part. Actually, no, everything was fun so far, of course. Yes, please. Yeah, I will have to log in into the browser at some point to then show you the results. But as you know, our topic is from Rio 92 to post SDGs agenda. And yeah, of course, we will not be able to do a whole post SDGs agenda, but what we want to do is to really be a bridging element. So we know that by 2030 we should have achieved all of the 17 SDGs, right? We'll see. But we really want to use this conference as an impulse to think like, okay, what can we do next? And we want to do that by looking back, like what has happened with the SDGs so far, what has been part of the Agenda 2030 of the UN, and what would be things that we need to address next. Just as like the Millennium Development Goals, right? They were in place from 2000 until 2015, or maybe some other years. I'm sorry for that. But yeah, they were followed up by the Sustainable Development Goals. And now this conference is kind of aiming to provide some bridging elements, some directions for a post-SDGs agenda. So we would like to invite you to reflect, okay, what did the Agenda 2030 with the SDGs delivered so far? What did it fail to do so far? What are, for example, mechanisms that we can use for new challenges that we are all confronted with, such as authoritarianism, I cannot pronounce that word, but you know.
Authoritarianism.
It's too hard for me. And how do we move towards collaboration in a very inter- and transdisciplinary field that sustainable consumption is, right? So the idea is that we start to harvest your ideas now. It will like include some looking back and looking forward moments. And then we will, discuss that on Wednesday evening, probably. Yeah. So you see a code here, which is not working at the moment. I think I will log into my account, and then it's just some questions about what do you think would be like main elements, bridging elements for such a post SDG agenda. What could it look like? What would be points? What would be, for example, additional goals that you would think are relevant? Maybe use the 17 SDG points as a starting point. What would you add to it? And I'm gonna start the presentation of this little survey in a bit. Is it working for you already? Okay. Okay, I have to start. You have to please select SCORAI Global Conference. It's the lowest. Yeah, okay. I have to start it first. Just 1 second. Maybe to make it less awkward, you can just pair in twos and just shortly maybe reflect about what you would like to see in a post SDGs agenda. Yeah, just maybe exchange in groups of two. I think that's nicer. Okay, so let's take this question as an impulse and use the survey some other time. I can share the results with you. Just to warm up, get to know each other. I think we're a really nice and cozy little round here. Maybe stand up, everyone, to get a bit active and try to find someone whose first name starts with the same letter as your first name. So for me, Laura, I would find someone like Leticia, well done, that has the same letter in me. Yeah, try to find someone as a first little task.
Eu acho que a gente vai nesse vídeo.
Ellie.
Ó, professora Cati, não vai aqui, né? Eu tô lascada. Eu vou para a próxima pergunta. Exatamente. Eu vou Isabel.
Ellie.
Não tem. Alguém com
Okay, if you have found someone, you can ask them the next question maybe, and if you have found no one, maybe you have luck with the next question. Find someone who has birthday in the same month as you have. So, yeah. Qual mês?
March, April, May.
The same.
And if anyone has birthday in June, happy birthday month to you also. Third question for a little warm-up. Who speaks the same native language as you? Who speaks a same native language as you do? I think that's a bit easy, yeah. I have German to offer. Okay, and then fourth question of our little warm-up. Who is presenting on the same day as you? You see, like, the possibilities get smaller and smaller. There are 2 days, so who is presenting on Tuesday and who is presenting on Wednesday? Eu acho que vai ter uma reception ainda. Só um momentinho. Vou perguntar pra cada. Eu acho que vai. Vai ter uma reception ainda, né, Fernanda? Vai ter uns drinks, uma reception ainda lá embaixo. Ah, sim, então. Talvez um minutinho. Okay, final question before we go down, right, to the drinks. Who works on a similar topic as you, and sustainable consumption counts? So we become one big little family. A última.
I already found someone, so
Mas nós vamos, você sabe, é para eu falar para as pessoas ir para baixo, né? É lá embaixo.
Não, é aqui.
Ah, é aqui.
É aqui, nesse piso, e o pessoal já está ansioso.
Ah, sim. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining this little game, and now you're very welcome to join, to go outside of the room. There are little, like, drinks prepared for you. Yeah, you're free to go outside if you want and have a drink and enjoy the conversation, like with a little drink outside. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Eu achei que a gente ia começar com uma atividade. Já foi. De socializar, né? Legal, conhecer. Tá bom. Patrick, can you give me your email?
Yes, I can give you also. I should have a card somewhere.
So